Hi everyone, it's Evelyn. This is a Divine Masculine Twin Flame read. Take a deep breath. Okay, sending lots of love and healing out to you guys. It's August 21st, 2020. Thank you all for being here and sharing this time with me. I'm going to pull an energy deck card first, and then we'll get right into the read. So it's the 21 of the world today. Plus, where are we? We're at the 23 for the day. Is that right? Yeah, 30. 23. I keep adding it different ways, so. No, it's not. It's with it. See, I'm not. My brain is not working correctly. 21 plus 8 is 29, 31, 33. So we're at a 33 day, which is the Christ vibration and the 7 of Wands, standing up for yourself without becoming triggered or defensive, walking away when needed. I'm actually going to show you the pictures before my phone dies here. So this is the main read from the SIRIAN STARSEED deck for today. And then the full read in front of you is right here if you want to take a snapshot and follow. I'm going to clear it a little bit for you. Okay. So August 21st, 2020. Transmute, transform, transcend, and clear. Let's clear all. Let's see. For everybody watching, for the best and highest good of all those concerned, what is it that we know? What do we need to learn? What is it we need to know? What do we need to learn? And let's clear all negative energies across all dimensions of time, space, matter, and reality for the highest good of all those concerned, and fill that empty space with only beautiful divine love and diamond crystalline light. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So what is our energy starting out this read? There's a lot about the Chinese dynasties today coming up to clear. So let's see what's coming up for you guys. All right, we have Angel of Balance, perfect, because yin and yang was a big deal. So 48 is the 8 of Cups, walking away and within. And this is kind of like an hourglass type thing, only there's no doorway. Oh, that's so funny, because that was coming up as going away. Victory also, 28 is the twin flames, it's the 2 of Wands, the choice of direction. Also not only the 2 paths in front of you, but the choice of going behind you, and then there's always that choice of transcending, which is going up and down at the same time in order to merge the 2 points, the 2 polarities at 0 point. So 28 and 48, balance and victory, and you see how calm and meditative she is there, and how balanced she is, and very feminine energy, both the young and older aspect of the feminine. And there's another feminine coming up the garden and the gate. The one is a little bit trepidatious about going outside. 30 is the 4 of Wands, the home, the union, the structure, the stability, and the 2 butterflies that are kind of prompting her to come out and play. The bottom of the deck is the woman holding a coin, and she's got a little bit of an attitude there at 42. 42 is also the 2 of Cups, which was upright in the read today. So it's the woman who has everything, but she needs to heal her heart because she's got an attitude there. So we have like all of the different ages of the women you notice here, okay? This one's probably the youngest, and then a little bit older. You know, these 2 are both pretty young. And then we have a young adult, or even an older teen. And then we have the older woman here. So it's all about that feminine energy and finding peace and balance And you notice how there's two that are more in the yin energy, two more in the yang energy, right? Deciding whether she wants to go outside, and she's totally in her yang energy, right? And these two are totally at peace. So it's all about that balance. And actually the 9, the heart, the broken heart came up right after those cards. So let's see what comes up from the read today for you. All right, so we have the World and the 33, standing up for yourself and completion. The World was reversed today, so there's a need for completion or just feeling like your world's out of balance and there's a need to balance. The pie of the balanced pie, and then the phi of expanding outside the lines, and then the need to come back again. So going off balance to expand, and then the contraction of coming back to center again to 0 point. So I cut this deck. This is a 7-deck read. If something doesn't resonate with you, don't force it to fit. There's a lot of energy and a lot of messages here for you. The main deck is the SIRIAN Starseed deck, and it is for the Divine Masculine, so for the masculine within the feminine as well. And of course, thank you all for all your likes and your shares and your subscribes and your comments. Please do so. Please share if you appreciate the information. These messages are codes going out to you to expand your knowledge, your codes, your energy coming into you. So it's important that other people get that energy as well. So thank you all for that, and please make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. All my information is below, and I have a CD out there, Ashes, Twin Towers to Twin Flames, if you'd like to check out a song of mine. It definitely will do some clearing for you as well at the same time. And so you can get all my information below, as well as on my website, twinflames3344.com. And my email is the same at gmail.com. Okay, so after the SIRIAN Starseed deck was cut and dealt at 8:50 to 51 today, 8 being strength and 50 and 51 are the 10 of Cups and the King of Swords. So going from that emotional fulfillment into the logical man. As I was clarifying the cards and the words get covered up, I was getting again F crystals. But again, for me, F isn't FU, it's more of the temperature rising, and there may be a need to center. Right, it's like that phi energy. And the it was at 9:02, the Hermit and the High Priestess. And then at 9:03, I got ALS again. So if you're interested in supporting ALS, please check it out. Okay, so it's come up. That's probably been the most common disease that's come up in my readings. So, and that's Lou Gehrig's disease, and it's you know, it's somewhat related to lupus. So it has to do with autoimmune issues. And also, the red building came up for me yesterday, so I want to bring that up as well. Like it's the red building that I was getting in clearing or meditation in my own Akashic records, but it definitely had to do with castle-like energies and moats. And at 9:15, which is the Hermit and the Devil, Flames was coming up, as well as Han, like the Han Dynasty. And also the Hangman reference to that. Let's see here. I was getting Castle of Heartbreak. And then at 9:21, 21 being the World, I was clarifying the bridge I have in the way I put my cards out to the 9 of Cups. And in the 9 of Cups in this deck, and I don't want to pull it up because it's got cards on top of it, but the 9 of Cups is in like this stone palace, and he's like, it's like he's got an array of the 9 cups ready to serve his guests. And he looks like he looks Oriental or Thai, but it's got kind of that look to him. And it really was bringing me back to the Han Dynasty. So, and it was coming up as like the Castle of Heartbreak. At 9:23, the Ace of Swords was coming up, which it was upright in the truth. And then, yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up before I finish clarifying. So The King of Swords very much in that Ace of Pentacles energy of new beginnings. And the Page of Cups upright in bliss energy. And the King of Wands upright was coming up in the Hermit energy. The King of Wands Hermit. So I finished clarifying at 9:28, which again is the 28 of the Two of Wands, the two directions or the twin flames. And the major arcana. There were none? Oh, the Hangman was the Hangman again was the only major arcana in the read today. Before the read, because I was pulling cards on either side, we did have Karma before the read and the Great Wheel or the Wheel of Fortune after the read. We had 3 Pentacles, 2 Swords, 2 Wands, and 3 Cups. So it was 3, 2, 2, 3. So 32 is the Journey, 23 is the King of Wands. And we had in the read, we had the King of Pentacles and the Knight of Swords. And we also had the 9 of Pentacles and 9 of Cups come up, which can be the sovereign of the feminine and the masculine. Then as far as the numbers in the code line, we had triple 4s come up and double 3s, 7s, 8s, and 9s all came up. So very significant. Triple 4s and double 3s, 7s, 8s, and 9s. Triple 4s is very angelic realm. 99 is very compassion related and endings and universal selflessness. It's also, you can't go forward in the 9 energies. It's more about letting go of stuff, endings. So it's about time to get rid of things that no longer serve you. 77 came up, which is the Sovereign, the 9 of Pentacles. 88 of the 2 twins dancing side by side, both balanced in their masculine and feminine. 12 is the Hangman. 4 is the Emperor. 7, 8, 9, just in time. And also 7, 8, 9 is the 5D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is the 3, 4, and 5D. Then 24 is the Queen of Wands, 47 is the 7 of Cups, 23 is the King of Wands, the 34 of the 8 of Wands, 45 of the 5 of Cups, 57 the 3 of Swords, and then 47 came up again, that's the 7 of Cups. So the message line today was all about completion, and yet the world was reversed. The Death card was upright though, so the world reversed can just relate to the disarray that we're in right now. It can also be the Divine Feminine in the 5D. And it can be that you're very close to completion, but the code line was about completion. And the message was very simple today. There were no numbers on the code line at all. It was about taking the high road. And as soon as I wrote that today, I was getting Shanghai. And then I was getting the Phi again, the FI, which is the PHI. And what are they doing? There's been a motor. That was a car. But there's been, I don't know if it's that same car, but there's been a motorcyclist. I haven't heard them all day, but earlier they were like screeching up the street. So there's a lot of energy. And last night when I was out just trying to get some sun, the mosquitoes definitely wanted to suck my blood. So I definitely came inside. So that might be a message to stay inside. So take the high road in Shanghai, and then the Phi was coming up with Mass, like Christmas, but Phi is more Sophia Mess, as in the Christo Sophia. And then we have the AC of alternating currents and air conditioning of the logical man, and 9-inch nails, which also references grandmother. And again, that could be very much this energy of the grandmother with the 9-inch nails, you know, the tough love grandmother, keeping things in line. And also this week, Apollo's energy of seeing Gaia as the grandmother as opposed to the mother came up. So there's stuff about grandmother here too. So taking the high road, Shanghai, and of course Shanghai came up for me. I don't know why Shanghai as opposed to Beijing, because Beijing is really about the Great Wall more. But Shanghai came up. And I'll tell you more about what came up with that in a minute. And then Sophia Mass and the Antichristum, which just means before Christ, or the air conditioning, all the alternating currents of taking the high road and then coming back down to 3D, and the 9-inch nails of digging your heels in, and the show of power at the new moon. to really anchor down, you know, and keep yourself grounded. And so I got Shanghai Tang. Tang Dynasty has always come up for me from the time I was young, and we used to drink Tang all the time. For me, it prompted the Tang Dynasty all the time. And also, it's Shanghai Tang is a modern clothing line by David Tang. It's a 20s to 30s theme. So the Han Dynasty came up, and that's 206 BC to 220 AD. Growth extended from the Zhou Dynasty. So Zhou started what they then continued. So the coin at the time that was minted in 119 BC was the same coinage used through the Tang Dynasty. So from the Han to the Tang Dynasty at 618 to 907 AD. So Han Dynasty was very much about Taoism and Chinese folk religion. It was a monarchy. And the second imperial dynasty of China, established by rebel Liu Bang, House of Liu. And I'm probably not pronouncing anything right, but you'll get my drift. And this is, the first part is all about from wikipedia.org. The second part is from history.com. So Han, the Han Dynasty was tainted by deadly drama within the royal court. This is from history.com. Also promoted Confucianism and opened the silk trade route to Europe and the invention of paper. So after the revolt with the Qin Empire, I can't even talk. And the QI is coming up as important. The Qi as life force, but also as the Qi. So the Qin energy at 210 BC, and then there was brief control by the warlord Sang Yu, and then Liu Bang seized title of the emperor at 202 BC. The capital along the Wei River took the name Emperor Gazu. So the western part of the Han Dynasty lasted till about 23 AD. And then there's a lot of young kings that would come up and then die. Or he would try to, he realized there's a lot of kingdoms there, and he'd replace the other kingdoms' kings with people from his family to try to gain control. But there was a problem in the family, with the family being more interested in their own ambitions, so that became a problem for him. So after he died, Empress Liu Zi, Z-H-I, and boy, were the women tough back then. So she was his wife. She attempted to control by murdering a few of their sons, or his sons, and she also mutilated and murdered her own mother. And that dynamic mother and daughter was coming up today as well. So he had preferred his mistress lady over his wife. His mistress lady was Qi, Q-I again, before throwing her body out and showing it off to the visitors. So there was a power struggle for about 15 years when Emperor Gazu's son, Emperor Wan, then slaughtered Liu Zi's family and became the emperor. So Confucianism was popular, and there was a lot of texts that were taken and by the dynasty. But then the Imperial Library burned in the Civil War of 210 BC, so a lot of information was lost. So the Civil War was 210 BC, and then let's see what else. I don't want to go into everything here. I was looking at a lot because they were pulling me into all the dynasties, because obviously there's a lot of wounding there. But the silk trade came up, the trade route, which would go into Afghanistan and then Chengdu, Bactria. That was 138 to 2 BC. And they found a lot in the royal tombs In the underground chambers beneath 4 shrines, the tomb features 70 carved stones and painted ceilings and walls, and historical figures. The art of silver, bronze, gold, and jade, and silk and pottery. And 2 suits they found with 2,000 pieces of jade in each suit. This was important here because often found in the Han tombs were models of houses in pottery form. And I just told you I was getting like that red castle. It was kind of a house castle. But that was coming up here. So models of houses in pottery form in these tombs, in varying degrees of sophistication. They were believed to have survived these tombs because the sites were not adorned on the outside. They were just big piles of dirt, which I was just reading in Israel. That was coming up in one of my searches recently. So West Han ended around 9 AD. And of course, there's always, one right after the other, all these different struggles. There was, in 23 AD, the Red Eyebrows came up, who were rebels and caused chaos and then changed the next dynasty. So another son came up and took over. And then it was the Eastern Han Dynasty at 23 AD. In 88 AD, so 88 is always very significant, and you notice 23 is the King of Wands, 88 is the 2 twins, Emperor Zhang died. There were multiple rulings after that because they were all young boys that ended up dying at a young age. And then what happened was these young boys would have eunuchs who became their best friends, and close allies. So the problem was they often ended up being co-conspirators with these young boys. So one of the eunuchs was actually credited with the invention of paper in 105 AD. He used bamboo and hemp rags and fishnets and mulberry bark pulp with water. And also the first dictionary came out then. So there's a minor war in the palace with Empress at the time, with Empress Doneger's family and the eunuch allies of the young emperor, and religious cult, the Yellow Taurans, which was reminding me of the Nine of Cups, through 220 AD, which is when the Han Dynasty was over. So I looked up Shanghai to see what was going on about Shanghai and why that came up. And Shanghai is on the sea. So this was important because Portugal came up on the sea, and there was another country that came up on the sea, referencing how little news or bad news, it's more of a simple life, how being like an example for us, how to live a more peaceful, enjoyable life. And this was described as a fishing town for a long time before it became Shanghai. It wasn't really Shanghai until closer to the present time. It used to be on the East China Sea, the Yellow Sea, and connected to the Korean Peninsula. In the 1921 Yuan Dynasty, that's when it moved to its current location. So the oldest site or oldest dynasty of evidence was the Shang Dynasty. It was also referred to as the Yin Dynasty or In Dynasty, which is kind of cool. That dates back to about 1600 BC. And there's a discrepancy between timelines because I recently found more updated information. So it did initially report it around 1600 or even 1700, and then the more updated said 1556 to 1046 BC. But anyway, the Shang Dynasty, the tribal chief Tang, so not only is there Tang Dynasty, but this first major dynasty was Tang. That was the leader. So tribal chief Tang defeated the mythical Xia, it's Xia dynasty, and the tyrant Ji. The victory of the Battle of Mingtao was fought during a thunderstorm. And there was a myth about this first dynasty. The Annals of Yin said that women Jiandi, second wife of Emperor Ku, had swallowed an egg dropped by a black bird and subsequently gave birth miraculously to Xie, Xie, or Qi, who helped Yu the Great to control the Great Flood and granted a place called Shang as a fief, F-I-E-F. So it would be 13 generations between them. I'm trying to see if there was anything else right there. So the Shang or Yin dynasty, and then came back to Shanghai. In 1899, the scholars noticed the Chinese pharmacists selling dragon bones that were curiously marked, 1899. And it was traced in 1928 to the site of Yinzhou near the Anyang North Yellow River in Henan province, where Academia Sinica excavated until the Japanese invasion in 1937. There were large palaces and organized states, so it was a very organized city. That was 2100 BC to 1800 BC, a walled city that they found. And the remains of the walled city, 1,200 acres discovered in 1999 across the Wan River from well-explored Yinzhou site. So Shanghai developed late in the Qing dynasty, the Qing dynasty. It was a small fishing village on the Huangpu River, and the Brits opened concessions there where they had, it was like their own, island unto themselves. The country had no control over them. It was like a loophole they found in their laws. So if they made a concession there, then the Chinese couldn't tell them what to do. So there was a forced treaty with the Qing dynasty, and then concessions were governed by occupying country and untouchable by Chinese law. And this is where opium came in and traded for tea, silk, and porcelain, and a lot of opium dens came up there, so there's probably a lot of wounds around that. That's the 1930s. The Astor House Hotel had the first electric light bulb, which I guess was one of the opium dens. It was also a pre-World War II haven for Jews fleeing Nazis. About 20,000 were in a settlement in the district there, the Hankou district, north of the Bund. And then in 1937, the Japanese invaded. The Jews were forbidden to leave their new ghetto, but the Japanese weren't like the Germans. They had no real beef with the Jews, but they were allies of the Germans. So they weren't treating them the same way as the Germans, even though they were in a ghetto. In 1949, post-war, Mao with the Cultural Revolution, 1966 to 76, with hundreds of thousands of people moved out to the rural areas to work. They were referenced as Shanghainese. And then the 1976 was the open door policy with the commercial revival, so more trade going on. So although it was the Shang dynasty, it was considered yin later on. And there are the cities, this city was considered the yin to Beijing's yang. So here the yin and yang came up. And I also came upon a site online. What was it called? It was called someone's dynasty. It was actually family. I think it was Tang dynasty, like T-S as opposed to Tang. Tang dynasty. And it was two boys who looked like twins, but they weren't. They were actually born 2 years apart. And they presented them as yin and yang. Like, it was very cool. So Shanghai was coming up here as the yin to Beijing's yang. And then Ging was also coming up, G-I-N-G. But the only things that were coming up when I looked were Australian slang for a child's catapult. And also it means crew, company, troop, or gang, Gin, G-I-N-G. But then what came up in the Chinese history was Jing, Jing, which is considered the energy stored in the kidneys that's most dense, or the yin energy, the most dense physical matter in the body, as opposed to the most volatile, which is the shen energy. The Jin nourishes and fuels and cools, like the feminine energy, and is similar to DNA and carries our heritage. So any kind of sexual energies like semen and menstrual blood or pregnancy is considered a big strain on the Jin energy. The good characteristics of the Jin share the embryo origin of the neural crest cells, which require great organization because of challenging cellular migration. So there's a similarity of this energy to the neural crest cells, the strength of self-organizing or being sovereign. The birth of the Jing, it's very hard to replace. So it's said that you can acquire this energy during your life through exercise, study, and meditation. And of course, it's consumed by stress and over-sexualizing, illness, etc. And of course, things like Qigong are related to renewing that energy. So in 1290 BC, and this is from, again, en.m.wikipedia, another Ging name came up, not spelled that way, but G-E-N-G with a long E, so Ging. And it was Pan Ging, so Pan came up with the pandemic and everything, so I definitely looked. And he was the king of the Shang Dynasty in 1290 BC. He was 1290 to 1250 BC. He's the one who moved the capital from Yang, or the Beijing area, to the Yin area. And today Shanghai is actually not at the Yin area, it's more on the coast, whereas the Yin's more inland from the coast and a little bit more north. So the Pan Ging was also considered the 19th Shang king after older brother, but then the oracle script on the bones that came out more recently at Yin Su ID'd him as the 18th king. He ruled for 28 years, here again the 28 of the twin flames, and it's in the bamboo annals. He was enthroned the year of Bing Yin with Yan as capital. So he was credited with moving the capital, which was, there's against all odds basically, because he had a lot of people against him moving the capital, but that was his big thing when he was in his position. Okay. So he moved the capital from the north of the Yellow River to Bo. I guess the capital of Shang. Founder Tang, or the south side of the river. Initially was opposed by the people of Yin, who were tired of moving, but satisfied when Tang's system adopted and became more prosperous. So Tang came in after him. So then the people became happy about what he'd actually done as far as moving the capital, because it actually did benefit them. In the classic history, there is a chapter entitled Pan Ging, where there was supposed to be a speech by him, but it says that the language was so different from his time, it was considered not a product of his era. So I wondered if it was some kind of light language that they actually spoke. That was kind of curious. So also mentioned in 2200, the Great Flood Yu the Great and the 9 tripod cauldrons of metal that were given to him in tribute by the 9 provinces. Actually, the same time of Pan Ging, the 1250s, when those oracle bone script appeared. So then the Tang Dynasty is much later. It's 618 to 906 after death. And that was more of the, the creative dynasty, the golden age of arts and culture, and Buddhism was big then. So there was two different stories about females who took over. The one I told you about was Lu, and then here's Empress Wu, and she was actually one of the concubines. She was sent away. It was Li Yuan and son Tai Zong. So when the father died, she was the son's concubine, son Cezanne. He was the great Khan. And so she was sent away when he died, but he had fell in love with her so much that he ordered her to come back and won favor over his wife, who was then dismissed. Then when the son stroked, Wu, the concubine, took over. So he died, and she maintained control through his two sons, and then in 690 after death proclaimed herself the empress of the Zhou dynasty, and she released the Great Cloud Sutra, the Buddha Maitreya reincarnation as a female ruler. So there were some very powerful women there taking over. But they were both the men and the women, they were very cutthroat. They just wipe out the families, to take over. So her grandson, Emperor Kwanzong, was known for culture, and Buddhists and Tao, they were brought into the family, clerics to the court, including Tantric Buddhism at that time. They had a big passion for music and horses. And he fell, this was interesting because he fell due to an enduring love story. This is the Tang Dynasty. And I have a connection to one of my cousins too from one of these dynasties, so I was always kind of interested in that. So this one fell due to an enduring love story. Xuanzong, his love for his concubine again, Gui Fei, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, began to ignore his royal duties and promoted her family to high points or high positions in government. So sensing the weakness in him, the warlord An Lushan occupied the capital in 755 AD, and then he had to flee. So his royal armacy wouldn't fight for him unless he executed the concubine's whole family and her. So initially he agreed to the family, but then they said, no, we're not going to defend you unless you kill her too. So he had to comply and killed both the family and the woman that he was gaga over. So she was killed, and then he abdicated to his son. So it was really cutthroat stuff back then. Then there was one Zhang Guofan, or Zhang Guofan, that was 1811 to 1872, looked very much like the character in my Nine of Cups card too. So that's why I brought him up as well. Shanghai was a small fishing village before Christ. There was rapid progress in the Sui and the Tang dynasties. And then it was finally developed as a county and then a port there, where they could get to Japan and Korea and along the coastal cities. There's so much information there. But I came back to the code line there. And again, it was all about taking the high road, which of course is the Great Wall in China, to the nth degree, to expand in both directions and then collapse to the middle. So again, talking about the polarities and accessing both polarities in order to collapse them out at the same time. So doing both extremes at the same time in order to collapse things out. So that was coming up again. It's like, going to both extremes of the Great Wall at the same time in order to come back to the middle. And again, alternating currents, and before Christ was coming up, even though that wasn't there. The Great Wall was built through well, before I get to the Great Wall, the other things that came up about the high road to China were the movie in 1983, from March 18, 1983. World War I spoiled heiress, and her name was Eve in the movie, hires tipsy pilot Patrick and a sidekick to find her father, her eccentric father, in the 1920s in China. The journey was in 2 biplanes because she wouldn't fly with him because she knew how to fly. And the planes were called Dorothy and Lillian. And Lillian came up again online when I was just looking at a video. So Lillian's coming up as significant. They found her eccentric father helping a small village defend himself to a local warlord. So they stayed there to help him win, but then her time limit as far as the inheritance she was supposed to get, she didn't meet the deadline because both their planes weren't working, but she ended up helping and doing something good. So the Great Wall of China, the longest wall in the world, actually started in 770 to 221 BC with QI. And that was the Zhou dynasty. But Qi was a state duke. He did it to prevent invasion. And then in the Qin dynasty, the QIN dynasty, from 221 to 207, they unified the wall to secure the northern border. And then in the Han dynasty, which they did most of the work on the wall, they extended it for the silk trade. That was 206 to 220 AD. Actually, 206 BC to 220 AD. That was a Han dynasty. So, but, you know, it started way before that. It started in 770 BC and really was finished through the Han dynasty. Ming dynasty didn't allow anything to be done on the wall. And then, of course, more recently in this century, they did a lot of restoration and probably extended it as well. But 10,000 li long wall. And some of this was also from Britannica.com. And it was like, definitely the women, the Lu and the Wu were coming up, changing the woe into the no, like the women putting their foot down and saying no. And again, the key, the QI of the chi, the key and the life force here. So you notice that it's the QI, the FI, the PI, the LI, we're all coming up here. So take the high road to the nth degree, and Thoth was coming up here as well. And again, Phi was coming up as the opposites, water and fire, daughter and son, the yin and yang. And just the children in general, and basically, and like the two boys I saw online that were yin and yang of each other, supporting the polarities by merging them together. And that came up in the read very much too, as well as like the 2 children in the garden, one being the angel and one being the devil. And that'll come up in the read, so you'll see where the message is coming. But yeah, collapsing these polarities and taking the high road. And here the Ma was coming up as sacking the grandma, the mother to the grandmother, as a show of power. Done. And I was getting wild goose chase as well. So again, taking the high road, and Thoth was coming up here, of collapsing the timelines, the polarities. And the V, I, me, was coming up as the polarity of the V, right? Because the I, me is the masculine energy, and the V is the feminine energy. And the Ma sacking the grandma as her show of power over her mother once she becomes weakened, right? Because then they have to take them out of power. Just like you push your children out of the house when they're young to get them going. And it reminds me of, I don't know how many of you have seen the show Dinosaurs, but there's one episode where when their grandparents get old, they take them to the pit and they push them in. So of course, you know, the son-in-law's all eager to push his mother-in-law in the pit. But that's what it reminds me of. So we start here with the 9 of Pentacles reversed, the sovereign but not sovereign because they're upside down, with karma reversed. But beneath that, 3 of Pentacles upright, 3 of Wands reversed, and the 5 of Wands reversed. So deliberations. And notice deliberation is D, liberate, and then ion, ion's connection. So taking away the liberation and connection. Of the workplace, looking back or living in the past, after a fight or in a losing battle, no pursuit of happiness. The sovereign reversed, powerlessness and dependency, resting, break, or 5D meditation and prayer, with a secret passion, insincere, with a secret out, jealousy or moody, and need to use their intuition. The High Priestess reversed and the Knight of Cups reversed, powerless to each other, dependent or loss of money, power, and independence. Of the Empress, defenseless to energies and attacks, ganged up on, and negative self-talk, lying, spying, and silent treatment, and mean words, immature communication. So this is very much bringing up, those young emperors with their eunuchs and then their concubines that would take care of them. They become the people in power. In coming together with the Queen of Wands reversed, or a group keeping the Page of Swords reversed and the Queen of Wands reversed apart. Defenseless mother defended by a message or child, the Knight of Swords to the Queen of Wands reversed. Knight of Swords is reversed in this read. The Page of Swords reversed on break or over it and needing to use their intuition when coming together with jealous Queen of Wands reversed or Queen of Wands reversed and Knight of Cups reversed, two separate people. The Jig is Up came up right here at 217, which is the High Priestess and the Star. Confession of no peace, holding their tongue and lashing out to come clean, get clean, or cleaning up the act with group, or to come together with the truth of arousal and keeping a lid on it. Or infection, circumcision, or STD, broke through the crown, a delicate cut, no more Scrooge, letting go, tip cut off, or crown dug out, or in need of lobotomy, or whistleblower, clown, or performance or street performer is threatened or bribed to let go of it. Or Scrooge lets go to set the story straight. The ancient act in modern shoes, hiding behind the pen, is mightier than the sword to get water from a stone or money from Scrooge. The traveling salesman, the charmer, the snake oil salesman, right? The schmoozer. The art of manipulation, advertising, exaggeration, something to get someone's attention, smiling, catchphrase, not quite the truth, but can pass as the truth. A dog in heat, aroused by the game of outwitting. At 233, the High Priestess and the Christ vibration, the Seven of Wands, standing up for yourself, taking the high ground. Each element's vice. The Wands is fire, physical strength, and therefore abuse, being beat up. Water being the emotional strength and the playing of emotions. Air's strength is words and their thoughts, and ignoring or cutting people with their words. And then Earth's strength is to ground and do nothing at all, neglect, strike, or use their money to hurt another. So they all have their vices and their negative traits. At 239 is the High Priestess and the Knight of Cups again. With the Ten of Pentacles, family, business, community, or legacy out to be seen. The philanthropist, offering their time, money, and effort, or new life to ease another's suffering. Show them what bliss is. Shed light on wisdom of being humble and keeping to yourself and going within. Giving attention to all parts of yourself. Separation comes up here. And beneath that was stay optimistic about your love life. Leaving the dead and buried, but unearthing. And then unity consciousness of the gold coin. The Omega, the key portal. Hedging bets and gardening, creating beauty. Everything is provided if you just look, smell, listen, feel, and hear. And here, with a T, becomes heart. The path to the mountains, to the other side, the view, the perspective. The bridge to coming together on the same page. Knight, queen, king, pawn, rook, bishop. The Knight of Cups reversed, without strength, to transition across the Great Wall, the Great Divide, 13 generations away, or 12-hour drive. The Hermit, the King of Pentacles reversed, lost his flame, his strength, his superpowers, and the ability to emotionally manipulate. The Woody ratio to inspiration, life force, trained to fight, to go to war, to get aroused by conflict, as opposed to sensual, feminine side, where you have to completely let go. And the feminine can't let go due to lack of trust that the masculine energy won't protect her temple and heart. The wise old man and 2 parts children, the dark side of playing games, war games. Instead of competition, why not play for the fun of it? not for proof of human worthiness. Jealous, rejected, moody, insincere, transforms by siphoning, not siphoning, but scythe, like a whack, siphoning all that doesn't serve or doesn't play nicely out of his life at 301. No more inverted mirroring, but looking self directly in the mirror of the collective consciousness. No more matching grays, hose, or loss of circulation, or you say, she say, hearsay, heresy. Hear, see, listen, hear, and feel. Ba-bum, ba-bum, pa-ra-pa-pa-pum, pum, pum. The beating of the little drummer boy's heart, or the little Drummond boy's heart, different strokes. To blend a family, relationship change. At 310, the Empress, and a change for the better. Beneath relationship change was compassion, where the star, dreams, healing, shine. Free to be the Queen of Wands upright, beyond the Empress reversed and the Hierophant reversed in lack and antichristishness, injustice of the Page of Pentacles reversed and the Page of Cups reversed, or the family of divorce, God forbid. The Aquarius upright and the Taurus reversed times 2, Libra reversed, or the Queen of Wands upright or Aquarius upright take their parents down for the sake of the children, or frees herself from them all. No more perfect student or loving one no matter what, or the injustice of neediness and spoiled entitled children, leaving stuff on the steps to trip on at 319. Oh, but it was an accident, right? As Grandma falls down the stairs. 3 is the Empress and 19 is the Sun. The Page of Cups reversed and the 9 of Pentacles reversed, unable to let go, with the Hermit patient or being patient, but not the King of Cups reversed. And again, relationship change. There may be someone there, like one grandparent they get along with, the other one they're very uncomfortable around. Relationship change is 56, which is the 2 of Swords, being in your knowing but keeping to yourself. 321, 321 jump. In the recent past is the King of Pentacles reversed, inspired by constant drama and yet avoidance of it all at the same time, working to align without attention under the radar, holding their tongue, but that's not true intention for the sneaky little shits, wanting to lash out in coming clean or in them coming clean, like someone losing patience with the kids. The Hermit shedding light on separation and heartbreak and having to keep it to themselves. The King of Cups reversed, emotionally detached, and only works or out and about or out drinking or on deck admiring his work. Perhaps the King of Pentacles reversed, with Sag upright and Scorpio reversed, may always be out or drinking or working, or Hermit or Virgo always coming clean, getting clean, or cleaning up the act. So 2 ends of the spectrum, right? One always doing the bad stuff and one always doing too much of the good stuff. Or the Page of Wands upright and the Knight of Wands upright and the Knight of Swords reversed is a situation of odd man out. Or the grandfather, 2 sons and 3 kids here. The foundation is the 4 of Cups reversed. Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. So that was coming up again. Starting over in love. No option but to free self from the King of Pentacles reversed. Out in the cold, dumping back on him what he dumped on them. Or 2, in victim mentality, pushing the King of Pentacles reversed to their emotional limits. And he has no options but to free himself from the situation. And he could be making that excuse as far as kids, like he can't handle the chaos, or, after working all day, or tired of listening to people's problems all day, or taking their emotions out on him. And the central energy is the Ace of Wands reversed, the frustration with no growth, and the inability to get aroused, conceive, or conceptualize that 2 could actually love each other and be kind to each other. Released Leo, beast, ego, or released by being strong, or kids actually taking the dog out for once, the angel and the devil. Sag and Capricorn from one year to the next, which is Sag to Capricorn, the angel releases and the devil a beast that needs taming of the shrew. Then all of a sudden they love each other again. Showing them, this is like seeing their kids and how they behave, and how is it that they just all of a sudden forgive each other. It's like an adult seeing the kids, teaching them a lesson that people just want to be seen and heard by the other, each other's muse. The devil brings the angel fun, and the angel brings the devil home and teach them what it means to feel loved. When on guard with nowhere to turn, and challenged by the hangman upright, being wise, seeing another view when out of balance, in debt, or when there's unequal relations. Not sharing nicely at 346, which is the Empress and the Six of Cups, the children in the garden. Starting over in love. Dumping it out and starting again. The world's upside down in separation, but the Queen of Swords is upright and talks about ending competition, fighting, and deception, with the King of Cups reversed and the Queen of Cups upright in energetic energy with her. Or the Queen of Cups is hiding, disguised as the King of Cups, Pisces reversed man. Or the King of Cups reversed and the Queen of Cups upright are not getting along, but the Queen of Cups keeps a low profile and is still able to share positive energy with the upside down world, or in separation from the Queen of Swords upright. So that could be a mother and child energy again. So 351 is the Empress and the King of Swords. That could be mother and son right there. Fantasy and deception, or fantasy at the new moon or before dawn. Temperance, patience, angel, end, and transitions. The dark night over the 4D bridge to the Empress, like over the bridge to grandmother's house we go. The dark night going over the 4D bridge to the Empress and the Queen of Cups. Or addiction or codependent to love or to men. Or a partnership, suffering in silence with the Ten of Pentacles, family, business, or community. And negative attention, or they could be getting negative attention, or just stuff going on under the radar. Now for the masculine is the Two of Swords upright, knowing and keeping to themselves for peace of mind, to keep their energy pure, juggling, performing, keeping their balls up in the air, home but dissatisfied or unhappy alone in separation. And the Tower of Epiphanies and eruptions with third party, rejected, vulnerable, or shy, or a child left out of a group, social distancing, bad influences, gossipers and partiers, or spoiled, entitled children. Staying out of the drama, getting over heartbreak and or separation with the family, or keeping family happy but feeling alone and not happy themselves. The Queen of Pentacles reversed, dumping a load, a burden, responsibilities, or confessing at work with the Emperor reversed, or dumped all their work on him without an announcement or no prior warning. Cancer reversed, Aries reversed, Sag upright, Scorpio upright, Taurus upright, Aquarius reversed, Libra reversed, all here. Bad time between the Hierophant upright with the Chariot reversed and the Empress upright. No more discussions at the gate or about the gate with the Queen of Cups, and no growth or frustrations. Taurus upright ×2, Cancer reversed, Libra reversed, and Capricorn upright ×2. The Angel and the Devil with death or end, and Empress and Queen of Cups between them. The Angel and the Devil with death, the Empress, and the Queen of Cups between them. Deliberations, slow, not meeting halfway. The Hierophant frustrated without a car, or in chaos, or in breakdown, break up, or break through at the new moon. The King of Cups reversed, or this could be a Pisces or Cancer man not getting along with the Queen of Cups upright, Cancer or Scorpio. And the Queen of Pentacles reversed, Aries reversed, or Aquarius reversed, with Taurus, Scorpio, and or Sagittarius or Libra reversed. And the Queen of Cups upright, Capricorn, Taurus, or Libra, not meeting halfway with Libra, Capricorn. Cancer reversed, Scorpio upright, and Sagittarius upright are between the King of Cups reversed and the Queen of Cups upright. Or all are just codependent on partners, King of Wands and King of Swords, who are strained with the Ten of Pentacles, family or business, due to negative attention coming in, or failure. Soon is the Four of Wands upright. Two together, or partners, or just one-on-one time, but the Four of Wands is coming up with the Two of Cups on it, with sunshine, kids, exposure, and keeping to themselves. Perhaps Cancer and Leo, or remarking that it's 24 hours a day that they have to do this. Partners pretending to not have conflict, or because the Two of Swords person keeps all of their thoughts to themselves, suffering in silence, stuck, stubborn bull, without peace, and letting go to repair or fix a ceiling. The world upside down, or the divine feminine in the 5D, aligning to break the mold, to collapse the portal, or dark timeline, needing closure to work. At 424, which is the Emperor and the Queen of Wands. The masculine sees himself as the Knight of Swords reversed, holding their tongue or lashing out, the two polarities that need to collapse into halfway. But there's no halfway, it's either one or the other. Looking back or living in the past. Hanging out, dark night with dreams, and the Page of Pentacles, which could be an opportunity or an invitation, or invitations to send out. Insecure without the tools to giddy up and get moving. Back to new perspectives, in need of new tools to transform and get going for dreams and the study of the gold coin, the unity consciousness. Free yourself, express love, romantic feelings came up together, and then deception and release your ex also came up for the divine masculine. Around the masculine, or how he's seen, is the Seven of Cups upright, the steps up to heaven. 7 steps after deliberations and reaping rewards, with the Queen of Pentacles reversed, but with lover on their mind and starting over. The challenge or the block here is the 9 of Cups reversed. Dissatisfaction or unhappiness alone, not seeing the light, the 6 rays of dogma. And Mary Magdalene comes up there. After the synchronicities and apparitions, yet truth in them apparent, and whole, or holy, holier than thou, blocks here for the masculine of letting go. Completion comes up here, but even more so for the masculine is pride, surrender, and spiritual partnership. The Fool is free to walk that fine line without seeing snake at their ankles, the Page of Swords reversed behind them without a leg to stand on, or left arm without feeling, dummy. Working with crystals at the gate, church, archway, or portal, Vogel, nostalgic about secret moments with olive branch or mistletoe. Legs on display that please the horny devil, coupled with the King of Wands upright and the King of Swords upright, not permitted across the drawbridge, or partners or bodyguards or bouncers for the couple to have their privacy. And it was coming up like a famous person, like just to have a moment alone, they need, bouncers outside their door. The castle guards just for them, 15 minutes of rock stardom, defenseless to multiple flames or adoring fans ganging up on them. The injustice of surrender to walking away from imbalanced relationship of secret moments while the King of Wands and King of Swords are working or doing all the work, or he's hiring all men so his wife won't be jealous, or 24-hour guards or aides to assist them, or while the divine masculine's at work, his partner is sneaking moments with someone else, or actually 2 other men, both waiting for their decision. Slow down, downturn, or twist of fate after getting burned at work, the divine masculine's heart is coming out of the bat cave to walk away and within, or take a walk on the beach. Finally, it is a day at the beach. 451 is the Emperor and the King of Swords. The Page of Cups finding his inner child again, or having walked away from a message of love. So D, liberation at work, looking back at a losing battle of powerlessness, or sovereign reversed who's dependent, no longer an island unto themselves, holding their tongue about synchronicities and fantasies, heaven, and taking the steps. With the King of Pentacles reversed, frustrated, with no growth, hanging out at home and unhappy, knowing and keeping to themselves and all work, defenseless to the drama, the slowdown, the heart opening, and the walking away and within. The cards up in front of you with the Fool and behind the love sign is the Star, the 4 of Swords, and the 3 of Pentacles. So it's very much about being free to dream, play, rest, and co-create. The loss of money, power, and independence. The King of Pentacles reversed, vulnerable, no longer stuck on Gilligan's Island, starting over, frustrated, without flame, knowing and floating on a wing and a prayer. Challenged by a new perspective, a new view. The Knight of Swords, not passing a message, home and work, taking steps to heaven, unsatisfied alone with just work or crystals aligned, defenseless to fire, drama, too many queens, with world upside down, needing closure or a shift and a heart opening, letting go, enough anyway to walk away and within and be vulnerable again. So I'm going to pull another card from the energy deck for you guys and then let you go. Let's see what the takeaway is from this. There's a lot of stuff about experience polarities at the same time in order to collapse them, and stuff about, you know, the young taking the, not only the, you know, the mothers pushing the young ones out to go take care of themselves, but the grown adults pushing their parents out to stop taking care of everybody else when they can't handle it. Yeah, but there may be some vicious ways of doing that, you know, by like pushing them down the steps, or, you know, throwing the grandmother in the pit like on the Dinosaur show. So yeah, there's some weird stuff that was coming up, and it was definitely related to all the dynasties and how cutthroat they were, you know, and perhaps choosing your nanny over your mother, right? The one who raised you. If you're raised in a wealthy family and your mother didn't really spend much time with you, and your nanny or your concubine or whatever you called the person who raised you could have been your cleaning lady or your grandmother raised you. So you may be more attached to that person. They may end up taking over, whether it's the grandmother taking over the mother's role or the mother kicking the grandmother out and taking over. There's definitely the female roles coming up to purge here. So what is our takeaway from this read today? All right, so a couple cards are coming out. First with the journey, and there's the 40 bridge, the rainbow bridge. And she's standing right in the middle, you notice, right? Needing to collapse both polarities in order to collapse the timelines that they're in. So the journey, and what is she holding? And they're talking about blue crystals today. Looks like a blue crystal. That's so funny. So number 2 is the High Priestess on the journey. The bottom of the deck is all tied up. 23 is the King of Wands, so playing games, right? Someone's manipulating or playing games to keep things all tied up, basically. And behind that look what's behind the all tied up. It's all about this stuff. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I value. I don't know which door to choose. But as long as I stay here, somebody else will take care of me because I don't know how to do things, so they know they have to take care of me. It's kind of like that kind of energy coming up here. As long as I'm cute, somebody else will do it. That's the energy I'm getting from that. All right, so then I have 3 cards besides the journey card coming out here. I have a blossoming abundance, which is 3, the Empress again, so the High Priestess and the Empress, and the King of Wands. And then we have the 25 again of that Knight of Wands. Knight of Wands is upright today, though, but still that deceitful energy. And this is like the 13-year-old emperor with his empress concubine over here, or the mother who comes into power because the father dies, and he's now the king. And then the woman gets control here. And this one gets, they're spoiled because they're young and they're emperor, they get everything they want. So the goddess of the moon is also here. This can also reference when the father emperor dies and the mother takes over, with the spoiled child, and there maybe the father's ex-concubine is over here and she wants to get rid of this one. So maybe getting this one to get rid of this one, or maybe this one likes their concubine over here. So there's all sorts of deceptive energy, as you can see, that comes up from those dynasties that we talked about. And 52 is the Queen of Swords. She's the war widow. She's the one who's very truthful in her integrity, but, her heart is closed because she's been really hurt and grieving if she's lost people in her life, So that's coming up with the journey. This is part of the journey, going through the energy in order to collapse it out. So everyone's involved in different sections of society, whether it's the political system or the medical system, the governmental system, whatever it is, the school systems, whatever system you're affiliated with, You may get pulled into those polarities in order to transcend them. So instead of choosing a path this way, or standing there and looking back, you transcend them by being present in the moment. So you're basically going in both directions in order to collapse it out. So it's being able to be in the midst of it, but not of it. So that, and I know you hear that over and over again, but that's what's coming up here. So we have these 4 cards, like transcending, you know, this stuff over here, and the underlying energy of being all tied up and transcending that energy. Okay, I know it was a little bit PC today, but there's definitely some energies that'll trigger you from the read today, which is actually good, because you need to go into it to transcend it. And even if it's just me saying, you know, Evelyn, just get to the point already. It's about transcending that trigger for yourself. So make sure you drink your water, get your rest, get your joy, get your nature, and rise and be loved, guys.